Hi, this is Kyle from APS, and I'm here to share with you how to measure your foot for a proper fit with sailing shoes and boots, and some of the fit tips when you're trying them on to make sure that you've got the proper fit. Now, the first thing, before you start measuring your foot, remember a couple of things, not just with kids, but even with us older folks. Feet do change size as you age. Um, it's not uncommon to have one foot larger than the other, so don't be alarmed. And when you're measuring, always go with the larger foot. And feet swell. So if you're going to take an accurate measurement, try and do it towards the end of the day when your feet are their largest. Now, with sailing, it's important to realize what you're going to be sailing with in terms of socks, because that's going to affect possibly your shoe size. In the summer, I could be wearing something really thin like this sock liner. Not really going to make a difference. Protects my foot, moves moisture, but not really changing the foot size. As maybe I add a waterproof, breathable, like this Gore-Tex sock over top of it, I'm starting to add a little bit of thickness. This may push me up to the next size. Probably not. Maybe I'm wearing some sailing shoes or some neoprene dinghy boots, and I want to make them a little warmer, so I add a 2 millimeter thick wetsuit sock. Now I'm starting to get a little bulkier. And at the extreme, if you were doing some wintertime dinghy sailing, you may start with this sock liner and then add a nice thick insulating wool sock. And then you've got the rubber boot or a Gore-Tex boot, depending on your dry suit. You're going to put your foot in with all these layers. Now I'm up to 3 layers. And then to protect the rubber and to make it easier for it to go into my boot, I might add one of these these Lycra over socks specific to dry suits. And now I'm up to 4 layers of thickness. That could really affect my foot size. So when I go to make my measurement, make sure you're doing it at the end of the day. Always go with your larger foot, and make sure you're wearing the socks that you intend to sail in. Okay, now we're ready to measure. This is a Brannock device. We have these in our store. You find them in any shoe store. I don't expect you to have one at home, but I do want to demonstrate how socks can affect your sailing shoe size. So I've got a really thin pair of sock liners on. This is what I wear in the summer with my deck shoes. And I'm just going to put my foot in here, get it adjusted, and I can see I'm coming in right at a 12. And if I switch this around for my left heel, let's see if this foot is any larger or smaller. I'm putting pressure on my foot, and I'm coming right at a 12. So in these socks, I'm a 12. Okay, now we're at the other extreme. I've got, let's say I'm set up to go dinghy sailing in the winter with my dry suit. I've got my same sock liner on. I've got a nice, thick, insulating wool sock on. Now imagine I pull my dry suit on with latex booties. And then over that, I put my 4th layer, which is a Lycra protective sock, and it keeps this rubber from getting eaten up and allows my shoe to kind of slide into, say, a neoprene boot or a rubber boot a lot easier. Let's see what that's done to my shoe size here. Okay, wow, it's made my foot really wide. Um, yeah, I'd say my width has increased by a full size. And now I'm putting pressure on my foot, leaning forward on it, got my heel back, and you can see where I was a 12 before, I'm a solid 13, just a hair over 13. So you can see that I might want to consider buying a larger pair of boots for my winter dry suit sailing. Okay, now imagine I'm at home and I'd like to know my winter shoe size with all 4 of these layers. So I've got a piece of paper, got a marking pen, and I'm going to trace my foot. And I'm going to be careful that the pen's not pointing out or too far inwards. I'm really trying to reproduce the outline of my foot. So with this guy, and I've got pressure down on my foot, not just the heel, but I'm pushing forward as I'm sitting here. Just look straight down my foot. Actually, I think I need to come out just a little bit here to be more realistic. And I'm looking down the back, and that needs to come out just a little bit more to be a true representation. Okay, so there's my winter outline. Now, With my left foot, because I have my feet are the same size, I am going to do my summer size with this really thin sock liner on. Same thing, I want a true outline of my foot. Go all the way around. And I'm putting pressure not only on my heel, and I'm looking straight down. Have I gotten it? Yeah, for the most part, that's a little fat there. In the back, I think that's right. Okay, so I've got my winter and my summer size. I have my outlines here, and I've taken this hard edge here, and I've made it very clear what my measuring points are, and those are going to be the 2 points that are farthest apart. So with my winter size, I'm going to get the ruler right up here, and I'm going to come through there, my longest point. So I'm looking at about over 11 and 3/4, about 11 and 2/3. And then if I come over here to my summer size, and right to that point, and I come through there, it's about 11 and 1/4, 11 and 1/3 almost. Okay, so I've got about 11 and 2/3 and 11 and 1/3. Okay, now I've taken my actual measurements with a ruler. It doesn't really tell me what my shoe size is. I need to convert that over. So if you visit our article on the APS Advisor, you can take a look at our chart, and down the first column has the measurement you've taken, and or you can do it in inches or some centimeters, and then it gives you a breakout of men's and women's in the US, a UK size, a European size, and a Mexican size. So for um, for my measurements, I came up with 11 and 1/3 inches, and for men's US, that's a solid 12, and my other measurement was 11 and 2/3, and that comes over here to the men's US, and it's a solid 13. So in the summer, my sailing size is a 12, and in the winter, when I'm wearing all those layers with my dry suit, I'm a 13. Okay, we've shown you how to determine your shoe size for the type of sailing. Let's assume you've placed your order and a box shows up on your front doorstep and you've got your new footwear. So before you head out, let's try these on and make sure you're happy with the fit. So again, put the socks on you're going to wear with whether you're with your boots or your shoes. Go ahead and put them on, lace them, tie them. And the first thing you want to do is in the shoe or the boot is you want to rock forward, and you want to make sure that this is flexing in the right spot, that's comfortable, and that it's not pinching, nor is it creating undue tightness in any one area. So if you're happy with that, the next thing is let's make sure there's enough room for your toes. So undo the laces, unzip your boot, and push your foot all the way forward until your toes are contacting the front of the boot or the shoe. And while it's there, take your finger and put it in the back. You should have a finger's width between the back of your heel and the back of the shoe or the boot, about a half an inch. And now the next thing is you want to make sure that your heel's not moving around. So go ahead and rezip, relace it, and get your foot situated and walk around. And as you're walking, you should feel your heel move a little bit in the heel cup, but no more than about a 1/4 inch up and down. You want it to stay seated so that you don't get blisters over time. Pretty straightforward in terms of fitting boots and shoes for sailing, as long as you've got the proper socks on. Okay, now getting into offshore boots, a tall boot. If you're doing blue water sailing, offshore sailing, the fit's going to be different. You're looking for a boot that you can get into easily, and more importantly, if you happen to go overboard and these boots start filling with water, you want a boot that you can get off without even having to put your hands on it. So if you can imagine, I've fallen over and I'm floating, my inflatables opened up, and I need to get these boots off because I can feel the water just going into them. I should be able to just kick them off and let them drop. So you're basically looking at least a size up in a true blue water ocean boot. For more how-tos and fit guides, visit us at apsltd.com. Hi, this is Kyle from APS, and I'm here to share with you how to measure your foot for a proper fit with sailing shoes and boots, and some of the fit tips when you're trying them on to make sure that you've got the proper fit. Now, the first thing, before you start measuring your foot, remember a couple of things, not just with kids, but even with us older folks. Feet do change size as you age. Um, it's not uncommon to have one foot larger than the other, so don't be alarmed. And when you're measuring, always go with the larger foot. And feet swell. So if you're going to take an accurate measurement, try and do it towards the end of the day when your feet are their largest. Now, with sailing, it's important to realize what you're going to be sailing with in terms of socks, because that's going to affect possibly your shoe size. In the summer, I could be wearing